Okay, hey guys, this is Lilith every night. I'm not gonna make my videos too long. Let's see. I just wanted to talk about things, and I just wanted to talk about astrology a little bit because this is something that I was once really good at, and I just want to put myself to the test. But also, this is just experience. Let's just talk about Pisces and how I've experienced Pisces, the sign. So I would say, I know there's probably going to be people listening to me about certain things, but anyway, who cares? Anyway, so Pisces, they're a mutable water sign. They're mutable, feminine, introverted, feminine water sign. I'm just blabbering right now. So anyway, so what do I get with Pisces? Automatically I get like, I just think of like the way I'm kind of dressed right now has that very Piscean vibe, like dream catchers, mandalas, very dreamy, like psychedelic kind of energy. They don't have to do drugs, they don't have to drink, but they are very known for like experimenting with drugs, especially like with acid or psychedelics, or a lot of them could be like that typical pothead that likes to play guitar all night in their garage or with their garage band. They're also very sweet at the same time, but they're kind of low-key evil. Like evil, they're like, how can something be so sweet but so evil? It's kind of like looking at a ferret or a cat. They're very sweet and very loving and kind, and then when they're just not in the mood, they'll just rip your head off. And they can be pretty harsh. I noticed that when they're angry. And when they're angry, it's very calculated and very sometimes manipulative. And I don't think they're I don't know. I don't know Pisces, too many Pisces, but I don't want to say that they're vengeful like Scorpio, but I would say that they are multifaceted. Is that the word? Another thing about them is that yes, they're very artistic. They're one of the zodiac signs that are artistic. The creative, artistic type are any sign that's ruled by Venus, which is Taurus or Libra, or even Aquarius. Aquarius is also artistic. Leo is also artistic because it's ruled by the sun. And then you have, of course, Pisces, which is one of the most artistic signs in the zodiac sign, in the zodiac. So another thing about them is that the guys I know, like I've had a romance with one a few years back, and it was not good for me. And I'm a Taurus, so you would think a Taurus and Pisces like are a hit, and they can be a hit, but maybe it just depends on the natal chart and all that. But he was very romantic and suave and super artistic, and he was the typical like Pisces, kind of like always drinking and doing drugs, but very artistic, in a band, and just kind of always trying to make music and the typical Kurt Cobain kind of vibe. But like, at least with Kurt Cobain, he seemed a little bit more traditional when it came to his relationships because he was married and he had kids and all that. But I talk about Kurt in one of my other videos about that situation. But let's get on to, Kurt Cobain is the ideal Pisces. He is like, when I think of Pisces, I think of Kurt Cobain. Because like he's just look at him. What else? I think of like grunge music too. Like, they don't have to be into rock and roll though. Like, they can just be into like mainstream music or hip hop or whatever, but they can still have like a very creative kind of dreamy. They like to be in another, like, other dimensions, other realms. They can have like a very magical mind, even if they don't believe in magic or spirituality. They might be so obsessed with it in a way where it kind of leads them to know why people are into it, or there's just something about them that is a little majestic, like magical, or kind of dreamy. Like maybe you feel like they're probably always in their head, or they're always daydreaming, or they sound like they're a little they sound like they're a little airheaded, but not all of them. There's just certain types, maybe the younger ones, they come off like that stoner type, but then when you speak to them, they're very intelligent and they can be very manipulative. Like, that is the truth. Like, they're very manipulative, and they can be a little shady when they're angry at you. So, like, they might not directly tell you, like, what they're mad about or who they're mad at, but, like, you can just tell. Like, a Scorpio can do the passive aggressive thing too, but, like, a Scorpio, it's more it's more stealthy. It works behind the scenes. Pisces, it's not really like that, but similar. Like, it's more manipulative. But at the same time, I think of Pisces, if they get caught, like, being an asshole to you, they're not gonna, like, necessarily be sorry about it. They might not really say, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, but they might at the same time, like, they're unpredictable like that. So one minute you just think, like, they're gonna be, like, really weak and just soft-hearted, and they might, and then just the next day they could be a psychopath. And yeah, that's my experience with Pisces. Oh, yeah, and they're very shifty when it comes to their relationships. Like, they can be very romantic and sweet, and, like, they can have, like, the perfect fairy tale romance with you. But then, like, when they're just tired of something, they probably won't tell you right then and there. But then all of a sudden, you're just, like, with them, and you thought that they were your world, and then the next minute, they're, like, moving on and leaving and hitting the road. That is just how Pisces are. And some of the men can be, and the women, they're also, like, because they're, like, mutable and they're kind of shifty, they can be a little, like, on the negative side, the negative ones. They can have a wandering eye, and that wandering eye, they kind of just don't let their wandering eye control. Like, they don't really have too much control on their wandering eye. Once they see what they like, they just kind of let their mind wander, and then they let their soul wander, and then they let their body wander, and then it just kind of goes like, I don't know what happened. I was just in a trance. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kiss that guy or that girl or whatever, like, it just kind of happens sometimes. Like, they kind of, like, are the type of people who are, like, in other dimensions without having to be sober. They can be sober and still, like, be in the dream state, but that's just their shadow side. But I also noticed the good Pisces, they're very sweet, and they can also, like, if they really like you, like, if, they can be more like that in romantic relationships, but, like, they are, like, unpredictable, so you can't just expect them to be, like, solid, like a earth sign, but, or a fixed sign. But, when they really grow to people, and you just really feel comfortable with them, and they feel comfortable with you, I would say that they can make really good friends. They can be the type of person, like, once they get used to you, they'll be like, hey, let's go hang out. Let's go and meditate. Let's go and celebrate, this holiday. Or let's go out to the bar. Or let's go grab a bite, or let's go have a road trip. They're the type that are down to do those kind of things when nobody else is down to do those kinds of things. I would also say that they can be really good friends, though. Like, I've met some really sweet ones, really supportive friends. They can be supportive and loyal, but they're not too reliable when it comes to always expecting them to always keep up with you. Like, because I think sometimes they just want to keep up with their own life, and sometimes they kind of act like they have forgotten about you, and sometimes that's not even true. It's just they can be always in some other world. Like, they can be hopping into this world and then coming back to that world, and then when Another thing is that they're very spiritual, they're very magical, they're very intuitive, you know, like they have a really good insight, you know, they're one of the most psychic signs. And if they're not psychic yet, you know, that's probably why they it is known that people who like to drink and like do a lot of drugs, it's because they're tapping into a spiritual realm. They're stepping into a psychic realm. And a lot of people who are psychic or empaths, they cannot handle what the world reality is bringing to them, and they want to escape. And Pisces are known for that. Pisces are escape artists. They are really good at escaping, whether it's just they really love to dive deep into their dreams, or maybe literally astral projection, or whether it is just alcohol and drugs, whether it is just music, whether it is just writing stories or poetry, or whether it's just reading fantasy books or watching a good fantasy movie like Game of Thrones or something like that. Like Game of Thrones reminds me of like, that's Pisces right there. It's like Game of Thrones. Like that is their kind of energy, like fairies, unicorns, you know, psychedelics, like The Doors, like that's what I get, you know, The Doors, like even though Jim Morrison was not a Pisces, but I think he has Pisces energy, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but like I can just see them like, or like Janis Joplin, like that's their kind of energy. You know, just about like rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that's why Pisces and Scorpio get along. Like that is why they get along, because they are like into that kind of lifestyle, or at least Scorpio's more on the sex part, maybe on the rock and roll part, because they're really into like, you know, the darker side of life. And rock and roll's it's pretty dark. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think. I know more about Pisces right now. I'm just thinking, like, they're really just fun friends. They're more like the fun people. They're the fun ones in the Zodiac. But even though they have that reckless, wild life mindset sometimes, they're also there's another side of them that is very intelligent and very wise, and very even philosophical, because, you know, Jesus is also, some people consider Jesus being a Pisces, and Jesus is like like, if I were to guess, like, because some people think he's a Capricorn because of his birthday was in December 25th, but like they say his birthday is in a different year, and a different month, and which makes him a Pisces. But if I had to choose between what the truth was, honestly, I would think Jesus was a Pisces compared to a Capricorn, because he's just a typical Pisces. Like, he's just Pisces head to toe. Like, he was a total hippie. He was like a nomad. He was like some sort of like magic man, like some sort of spiritual healer. Like, he did all these mystical, magical things. I know a lot of religious people don't like to hear that, but like, it was like the truth. Like, what person in church just says, hey, like, let's go walk on water and let's go turn water into wine? And, you know, like, that's kind of like magic if you think about it. That's kind of like some sort of magical shit like going on there. Like, because if somebody were to do that now, and some religious person saw that, they'd be like, oh no, you need to go to church. What are you trying to do that kind of stuff? Like, well, I mean, that's how Jesus was. He was a healer. He was a magical being. And so, like, it would make sense. And if people, you know, aren't religious, you know, if they aren't religious and they don't believe in all that, you know, just take that example with a grain of salt, not for if he existed or not in your reality. You know, I'm not here to convince people on what they should and shouldn't believe on that part, but I'm just saying, you know, him as a character, or him as just a man that you really believe existed. And you see the fact that he had the Piscean traits. Even his symbol is the fish too. Let's see. Yeah, I would say they're the very generous people. They're the type of people that, the good ones at least, they're the type of people who will, take off their shirt just to give it to you if you had nothing to wear. They're the type to, my battery is about to die soon, so I gotta hurry up. They're the type to just give you love and support if nobody else is. They really care about people when they're in the most time of need. Um, they're the type to be like, hey, you need $20 to go get gas? Here, I got you. That's what I do like about Pisces. They might not be reliable with every single thing when it comes to friendship. I'm not saying that they are bad friends. It's just they're kind of shifty people. They come and go. They live in this world and they come back into your world. But when they come back into your world, especially if you guys are really good with each other, they're the type to support you when you really need it the most. So yeah, that is Pisces, and I hope you like it. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Alright, so it's getting pretty dark out here.